Welcome to the green room. I'm Kinga.
And I'm Chad.
This is Pearl.
This is Mark.
And I need some wine right now. Cheers.
Wait, you can't talk about that. We have to start the show over. Okay. Cheers. What are we drinking on today?
We
Organic
are
wine.
drinking some Bonterra Sauvignon Blanc, which is one of my favorites.
It's organic.
You know
wine.
what? I'm just processing a few moments. Just processing some moments.
It's
This
organic
is
wine.
called Conflict Resolution 204. Welcome.
It sounds like it's much needed wine. Much needed wine right now.
And we are here actually talking about not giving up on our goals, because a lot of people like start a new year and they say, okay, I'm going to do X, Y, Z. They have these 10 goals or resolutions or whatever you want to call them. That this is what I'm going to do. These are going to be my improvements. And then they give up on them. We're going to talk about not giving up on them. And how can we stay consistent so we can achieve our goals. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, it's always interesting because we are past the, what is it, the quitters? Is it the
Right.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
Yeah, the first
Yes,
19,
thank you.
21 days.
Yes.
is- yeah, for
It's
the-
Thanks,
coming
Pearl.
fast.
Yes.
Which always makes me really sad that there's a date. People
And there is a
celebrate it.
date. There's a celebration date of like what,
That's
the
like-
first, second Friday in, like everybody
Yeah.
quits their goals.
And that's really sad. But I will say that something that was different for me this year is my business coach was talking about how he doesn't like goals and resolutions. He likes goals, not resolutions in the new year, which I've known for a long time, but he does intentions. And I liked that concept because it was more, instead of saying I want to do X, Y, and Z, it's like, who do I want to be this year? And these are my intentions. And so I did that for the first time. And so one of them, which I tried to practice just a few minutes ago, was to remain joyful in all situations. And so, but that's a big thing. It's like it's a mindset shift, which we've talked about before quite a bit on the show. But where your mindset is very much a big deal.
Your mindset is everything.
Right. And
I think it's everything.
like, to me, it's like I'm going to have a great year regardless of all the other things around me, because I have a mindset saying that I'm going to have a great year and I'm going to work towards that. It doesn't mean that life isn't going to have its ups and downs. It's life. It's always going to have its ups and downs. But through it all, I'm still going to have a phenomenal
Chaos
year.
will be around, but you can still stay positive.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I feel like it's an honorable goal to try to always be joyful, but it's almost impossible when something really bad happens. Like, you know what I mean? Those negative emotions are still going to happen, but what you can do is try to always get back to positivity as soon as possible when one of those things
Like,
happens.
give us an example.
If somebody rear ends you, you're like a lunatic if you're still like, oh, great day. Like,
Yeah,
you know what I'm
but
talking about?
I think that's because we have a misunderstanding of joy. There's happiness, there's positivity, and then there's joy. And those are not the same thing.
Well, my point is when you're like, something like frustration or anger happens,
Okay,
that's
I know.
reasonable.
I can give
think
my example.
It's
Can
okay
I
and
give my example?
Like, I'm in the middle of saying something now. It's reasonable to lose being happy for 20 minutes or something if something really stressful like that happens. You shouldn't feel bad about that.
And
It's a normal reaction to have those emotions, but the sooner you can go back to saying, oh, my car got rear-ended, but I'm okay. I'll be okay. My car will be fixed within a week.
Yeah.
Get back to those positive things, and then you didn't have your day ruined. You just had a negative emotion that was normal. Like,
Well, what if you could go through that experience without having the negative emotion?
I would.
You can't.
It's.
Can I tell you why? Because I did.
Well, it's part of the human experience.
I
Our
did
brains
6
are.
months of getting approval for my HOA to get smooth stucco.
Right.
It took 6 months. It took a lot of money. I had to put a down payment for my smooth stucco. Then it took they had to do the first coat, the brown coat, then the next coat, then the pink coat, all these coats, blah, 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 blah. And it was all done. $22,000 later, 6 months later, it's all done.
So that's super frustrating. So it's normal for you to have felt frustration.
Hold on, the
in
frustration
there.
isn't helping yet. Hold on, don't interrupt you.
That was already frustrating.
No, this is the positive part. And then it's all done. It looks good. It's so expensive. All this happens. And I get a knock at my door at 6:30 a.m. And the wrong guy's at the wrong door. And he's doing a fertilizer. And he sprays it all over the front of my stucco. He
Yeah,
sprays
why are you
it
doing that?
all over the front of my stucco, and it's like the top 12 inches up. You guys have seen it.
Mhm.
It's kind of a light green color on my stucco.
Mhm.
What do you do?
I agree. To
What do you do?
feel the emotions, right? I'm a journal. I actually have my journal right here with me. So I process through those emotions. I absolutely recognize and agree with you that you're going to feel those emotions.
Mhm.
That's why I say, but for me, joyfulness is a foundation. It's who are you joyful in? For me, it's I'm joyful in Christ. My foundation of joy is in Jesus Christ. It's not in my situations, circumstances, and it's not me ignoring my situations and circumstances. I learned that really particularly last year because I think in my happy rose-colored world view, I keep thinking I'm going to have a year where it's going to be just lovely and no drama will happen. And I finally realized that that's just not the case for life.
But those things happen, but I'm not
But
letting
Martin,
it
going
upset
back to
me.
your question about saying, can you like try to discipline your reaction and stuff? You definitely can, but it's impossible to
You didn't hear the ending.
cancel some of those reactions altogether.
I would agree with
Yeah.
that. But what I'm going for, I guess, in the discussion is, can we have all those frustrations? And yes, those negative emotions can come up. And then there's tools that we all have. Some use them more than others. Journaling is a great one. There's thought stopping. There's a lot of tools.
It's like I do a lot of
Distraction,
deep breaths. I'm
right?
like,
To lead
pause.
deep breaths, right? So you can pause. And one of my goals is that I am able to handle every situation gracefully. That doesn't mean that I'm graceful in here.
Yeah.
It means that I'm graceful to you, and
Yeah,
I'm grateful to
outwardly.
you.
And some of
I'm
that comes
grateful
with
to
wisdom.
you.
Like the example I was going to use is, or I was going to use two like quick ones. I used to get so frustrated if I had like some stupid spill, like if I knocked over a glass that had wine in it and it broke, and that was going to be like a 20-minute cleanup. That used to make me so frustrated. But I've kind of come to a more evolved mindset where I'm like, oh, like this isn't a big deal. There's so many people out there that have way bigger things going on. Like it doesn't even really piss me off anymore. Like the time it takes is like a tiny bit annoying, but it doesn't even really get that much of a reaction. So that's one way I've worked on it. And then another one is when somebody else cuts me off in traffic or something like that, I'll always just be like, okay, obviously that's somebody that's either A, having a really bad day, or somebody who's just kind of a complete asshole, and then I kind of feel bad for them anyways, because then they don't have any good days.
Right.
So
Well,
your perspective can evolve.
Well, it's
help with that.
It's your perspective, but it's when you get angry that quickly, it's your autonomic nervous system, right? And that engages before your thinking.
So I was acting
mind,
like a
right?
monkey, yeah.
Kind of, right? I had a similar experience this weekend. My
back
wife
to
Sherry and I
our
were working
original
on a
states.
project, and we were working together. And she was holding something, and I was trying to screw something in, and it fell over and it broke.
Is it Sherry?
It was Sherry and I were working on it, and this piece fell over and broke. I got
Frustrating, yes.
I threw a screw down on the ground and threw a little fit, and Sherry's just like, "Are you done?" But she didn't take it personally because
Yeah.
we've already had the discussion, and she knew that I wasn't mad at her. Now, in the past, I might have put my anger toward her, right?
Yeah.
What did you do that for?
Yeah.
Been mad at her, right? But
Yeah.
I was able to see that it was an accident. It happened, but I was able to see at the moment. Didn't stop my reaction.
Right.
And then,
But
there
at
was
least you redirected it in a different way.
right. And the joy I'm talking about, this, and my teachers call it like the joy, Christ consciousness, all of that. It's always there. You have to step into it, and so. Like, even though I was pissed and I threw the thing down there, there's still some joy behind that, right? Because I got juiced from throwing it down and throwing my little fit. And I'm very grateful that my partner didn't take that personally. She was just like, get over yourself. Let's get this done, right? There's a joy there. And I think that's kind of what you were talking about as well.
Well,
It is.
I would say like staying happy and positive and joyful is my status quo too, where I try to stay. But those things just do happen. Sometimes
Absolutely.
it won't happen for a week, and I'll have like a whole perfect week where I don't have any bad moments. But then some nights the dog pisses on the rug in the middle of the night, like the last 2 nights. Or like,
Well, and that's what I was trying to say is what happened to me, and it still isn't fixed yet. And I see that like 10 or 12 inches of green on that stucco. It's only on like 2 of the walls, and I'm like, you know what? This can be fixed. And what helps me focus and not get bothered by it is I see somebody like get out of a car that has two people helping him get into a wheelchair,
Mm-hmm.
and they can't even walk,
Right.
or I'll see,
So you're using it as a distraction. You're making sure that your mind doesn't go to the negative things, right? And that's one of the tools, because
Yeah.
your mind still went to, man, that looks ugly, right? You still had a judgment around it.
No,
right? We
no.
can't stop that.
Well, I do that, but then I'm like, this can be fixed.
Right, and that's
And then
the
I
part
see
that
somebody.
I'm talking about.
Then I see.
That's the graceful part.
I see a lot of people that have like like my mom. I'll talk about my mom. I'm gonna start crying, and she never complains. I'm so.
That's okay.
She never complains, and she's.
Where's this coming from?
She's getting older, and she
Yeah,
struggles with.
and she's in a lot of pain,
Mhm,
and she can barely walk, but she does it,
mhm.
and she's not in a wheelchair, and it's like, who cares about that 10 inches of green on my wall?
Right,
It doesn't matter.
right, exactly.
Well, and that's where I was coming from.
Yeah.
Because last year, people ask me, how was your year? And I'm like, there's two ways I can answer it, because there's some extraordinary things that happened, but I also lost 5 people last year,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So my mindset
Yeah.
the answer would be truthful either way. It was a really extraordinary year. It was a really painful year.
Mhm.
Those were truthful statements regardless. And that's where that mindset came from. But you know what? I'm still going to stay in the state of joy. It's not because I'm not acknowledging the pain. It's a lot.
Mhm.
I'm still processing
You
through
went through a
that.
lot.
But it's also understanding that there was a lot of good that also happened, a lot of great things that also happened, a lot of extraordinary things that also happened throughout this year. So I'm not going to wipe a whole year out because pain happened along with the good.
But also, like you and I believe in God, and I don't know who else does in the room. We believe that you go to a better place in heaven. That's what I believe.
It's true, but for me, I'm still here, so they're not here with me, and so there's that pain of separation, right, and processing through that. And so it was more just that overall view of going, wow, there isn't going to be this quote unquote perfect year or perfect. I mean, we have a perfect day, a perfect week, which is lovely. But throughout time, as you're continuing to live, stuff is going to happen. So I need to be able to be okay with that.
It's reality.
And still live a joyful life.
Exactly.
It's reality. And so how do we do that? Life coach Martin. How do people find you, Martin?
Yes is more fun. Just look it up. Well, I think it's all the things that we've been talking about. It is actually, the first step is that you have to have an intention to lead a better life. Like there's some people who just go, and they don't think, take a step back and look at themselves and say, I want to be a better person. I want to be more graceful in my interactions. I want to be closer to the people that I love. I want the people who are bad influences in my life to drift away. Those are the intentions that you have to have.
And in getting along and being more loving.
Absolutely, and because a
Correct.
lot of our issues that we have in life are self-created. A lot of people get in their own way. I know I've been guilty of that many times in my life.
Like being too judgmental, maybe, or
Absolutely.
maybe like looking for why you're angry or why you're mad at somebody,
Outside
instead
of
of-
myself, right?
instead
Not
of,
taking
like,
responsibility.
finding the ways that somebody's good to you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's also just the fact that I think there's a lot of people that may be afraid of being successful to a point, or just haven't seen great success. So it's hard for them to imagine that they could, whatever their definition of that.
Well, see,
success
that's the
is.
Well, I
thing,
don't understand
is
that. What
that's
do you
the-
mean by that?
That's the thing, is what is success, right? Because most people are driven,
That's what I'm
that I
asking.
found, by 3 things. I'm not good enough, I'm not loved, and I'm not safe. Those are usually the 3 things that are driving. Even people who are super successful, that's their driving force. And then you see them, a lot of these people, that nothing is enough.
They want to keep going.
They want to keep going. No amount of money will
That's
satisfy
true.
that emptiness they feel. We call those the 3 angels of the ego. And when
Yeah.
you
Right.
are safe, and when you are loved, and when you are good enough, when you can come from that, then that's where joy, I believe, lives. But you can't have judgment. You have to have gratefulness. There's things that you have to align yourself to, and it's not as easy as it sounds.
Martin, do you feel like you've always had that?
No, I've
What
really
created
only
that joy for you?
found the joyful journey probably in the last 10 years. And it's been the mentor-disciple relationship. My mentors, my coaches have taught me some amazing things, and it's one of the reasons that I come on the show, so I can help to teach those things, because in teaching them I learn them even deeper. And so that's why I coach, and that's why I do what I do. It's one of the reasons why I was late today, is that we were in a very huge discussion about this company that is it's growing, they do amazing work, and they are having some significant leadership issues, and they have to make some hard decisions. And I was witnessing my mentors giving them some feedback that they did not want to hear. They did not but it was true, and they knew it was true. And so watching that unfold was amazing to see, and it took a lot of work on my mentors, but they handled it with just love and grace. There was no flared temper. None of that happened. It could have gone that way very easily, but it wasn't even close to that. It's because they were really coming from the right place, and that the feedback they were giving was true. And so it was quite a thing to watch.
So what do you think caused the whole flare?
Well, what causes is our egos, our ego defenses, right? Our thought and feeling minds. Those we have more than just those two minds, but those are our two main minds that we live in: our feeling mind and our thinking mind. But there's a mind beyond that, and the thinking mind and the feeling mind is what gets us in trouble, because it's the one that says this is good or bad, left or right, good for me, bad for you, good for you, bad for me. It makes all those judgments, all those expectations, and it's necessary. It's not a bad thing. It just causes a lot of discomfort and a lot of emotion, a lot of energy in the world.
So Pearl, you have a business. Do you ever have any of these issues go on with your company?
Yes, because I deal with people.
And how do you cope?
One of my favorite people said, business would be awesome if it weren't for the people.
So how do you cope with it?
How do I cope? Hopefully,
Or how do you resolve?
well, I'm hoping that before we even get there, for me, a lot of communication. Being an event planner, that's one of my big jobs, is to communicate, over communicate, keep communicating, and document all communication. And then also just having grace for myself and grace towards other, and a heart of flexibility and a heart of forgiveness. You're dealing with people, and people mess up, people make mistakes, you're gonna make mistakes, you're gonna mess up. So having that spirit and heart of grace towards one another, and then being willing to admit when I'm wrong, is huge. It goes a long way, because then people see that you have a heart and authenticity towards them, and you're not trying to throw them under the bus. That's another
So
big
like
thing.
admitting
I'm
you're
not trying
wrong
to take
by
out
like
people.
what?
Well,
By what?
like if
Being
you make
late.
like if you make a mistake, admitting that you made a mistake.
Like you're late.
I'm not going to go there with that example. I'll just simply say, like, if I make a mistake, I'm going to admit it to whoever I'm engaging with, and let them know that I was wrong, and own up to that responsibility.
Does that happen often?
Sure, I'm a human being.
I'm curious, Pearl. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being a perfectionist, 0 being loosey-goosey, where would you say you reside?
That's a
most
good
of the
question.
time?
Oh, great. I'm at 100.
You're
I'm a recovering perfectionist.
Okay. And I think that, and I knew that, and that's why one of the reasons why I asked that is because there are so many people, so many of my clients are perfectionists. You know, the engineers, that very black and white thinking. And
You know, I don't have black and white thinking. I have very gray thinking, but I have a standard in my
She's
head.
very great. I think you're very great.
no, you
Yeah.
have evolved, no doubt. From the day that I met you to today, it's not even the same human being. So I have and I don't even know you that well now, because you've done so much work in the
She's
last
done
several
so
years,
much.
right? And so what I'm talking about is, what am I talking about? I lost my train of thought.
Oh,
Darn it.
sorry.
That's okay.
Well, you were talking about that, you know, a lot of your clients are like the engineers. And,
Oh yeah. Oh, so this black and white thinking, and then you can get people to see the gray, and then you can get people to see that they're actually in the unknown, right? But you already knew that you were in the unknown because of, I think, of your deep spiritual side of things, and that's can sometimes eclipse the perfectionist side of you. But we talking about exchanging perfection for excellence, right? And excellence means that you have to fail in order to be excellent. You know, Michael Jordan misses more shots than
He
he
did.
made, right? And batters, is there any batters that are at over 500, right?
No.
Right. So
Michael Jordan actually did shoot over 50%.
well, screw that guy for my and
But
screwing up my analogy.
But the baseball one, the baseball one's the perfect one though, because like the best hitters only hit 333, which is
Right.
1/3 of the time.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's like a
So
legendary
that's
average,
excellent, right?
yeah.
And perfection.
But still,
Like you can get into the Hall of Fame just hitting 300.
but if Michael Jordan only hit 50% of the time, it's still failing 50% of the time.
Mhm.
Well, if you look at it that way,
Right.
But I had to learn that failure isn't the end. It just meant I learned something.
It's literally a
Right,
part
you
of
don't
life.
associate with
Yes.
I'm not good enough. So
Yes.
many people
And that's what I
associate it
did.
with
Like,
it, that
I-
they're not good enough.
Right. I couldn't fail because if I failed, then I wasn't good enough.
Mhm.
Whatever that thing I was doing, which then also limited my willingness and ability to take risks, right?
Mhm.
Because I needed to know going in that I was going to be successful in
Right.
whatever this was. And if I
Right.
couldn't guarantee that, then I was not even going to bother.
Right, and that's where engineers come from. This idea that I've got to know everything up front, right? But we've talked about many times on the show is that we are terrible predictors of the future. The only thing that we have is right now. We don't even know what we're going to be talking about in 10 minutes. We have no idea. None. Nobody
is so
does,
true.
right?
But also, there's nothing that's perfection. There's-
Other than nature, but in nature of the perfection, there is still.
but still, there's nothing that's perfect. Would you say that if you're trying to be perfect, are you setting yourself up to failure? As a life coach,
So I'm making a distinction, kind of like
it's trial and error.
it is trial and error. I'm making I guess there's like from the human standpoint, there if you strive for perfection, then you're going to suffer, right?
Okay, so like for example,
Hold on.
okay,
So,
and then I want to
If
say
you
what I want to say.
strive for perfection, then you're going to suffer. If you realize everything is perfect,
Yeah, existence is perfection.
thank
Being
you.
able to experience the good and the bad, because if there was nothing bad, you wouldn't be able to perceive what's good.
Okay, this
So
might be trivial to everybody that's
existence
listening.
itself is what's perfect.
This is totally
Which is
trivial.
it's a different way of seeing it.
Well, and it's
Yes.
super hard to get to that point.
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of people can only just dwell on their negative emotions and the bad stuff that happens and can't understand that it's a sad but necessary part to understanding good versus bad.
Exactly.
And it's like a part of the structure of our very universe.
Well, and good versus bad is relative, just like light, just like everything. A gazelle doesn't think the tiger's great, right?
But the tiger and the gazelle would both agree that dying is bad. So there are some things that are objectively bad.
Right.
Like
Well,
being
from
harmed.
your view, your death to you is bad. To me, it's going to be a next evolution of whatever my incarnation is. I don't view it necessarily as bad.
You don't view your death as bad?
No, it's
Really?
it's inevitable. So if I could either look,
I guess
at it
the
like it's
better
gonna
way
be
to
a horrible thing.
I guess the better way to put it is sad. But sad parts are what give the other parts of life so much beauty and joy. So it's kind of like
Absolutely, you
just
can't
a
know
balance.
happiness without knowing sadness.
Yeah, but I just think it's impossible to say something like somebody being harmed or somebody dying is a good thing. It's sad, but it's a necessary sad, which is kind of.
I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm saying we put a label on it.
Yeah, well, you were saying
What
that
do you
it's
mean
not
by that?
bad, and saying something's not bad is implying that it's good. I'm saying instead of saying good versus bad, it's just sad.
I'm actually going to a third option. So we call this the
It's
rule
inevitable.
of three, right? So there's good, there's bad, right? That's two, and then there's a third option of there just is,
Part of the process.
right? And so that's where I'm talking about is that third option. It's
Which is
neither
what?
good nor bad.
But we have the
just
power to
is.
but we have the power to perceive parts of that process as good or bad. Like
Right, and
We're all
that's
gonna be sad when
all in the
somebody
ego.
dies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, and that all happens in the ego. Is God sad when we die? I don't think so, because we go up into the fold of whatever His next idea is, right?
well,
And
if he's truly without time, he would just be happy that we existed.
exactly
So, but from us experiencing time in a linear fashion, we're going to see certain things as good or bad or sad or happy.
absolutely.
So
Do you
you're
believe in
talking
good or
about
bad?
it from like a perspective that's not thinking of it in a linear fashion kind of thing.
Yeah, I understand what Martin's saying is that we place labels on things, right? So do I believe in good or bad? Yes. So I think I guess I say I believe in evil and I believe in good.
Good.
versus
Thank
good
you.
and bad.
Wait, can I high five you?
Okay.
Because
All
I
right,
agree with
so
that.
what is evil?
Well, for me, it is going against God's word
Thank
Okay.
you. Yes.
in short form.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with that. And what's good?
Going with God's word.
And in my opinion, to simplify God's word to somebody that doesn't understand that or isn't part of a specific religion is anything that's taking love out of the world, in my opinion. It's removing love from the world. So whether that's, hurting somebody, harming somebody, murder, obviously, anything that's taking love out of the world, in my opinion, you would categorize as evil, and vice versa.
Is that? Would you agree?
It's a generalization of God's word.
Yeah, I mean, mine is that for me is a very specific statement.
What is
Yeah.
yours?
So, what I just
About
said.
God's word, not
Okay.
the Bible specifically.
Yes.
Oh, okay,
So for me,
okay.
it's the Bible. So that's a very specific thing. I mean, I appreciate and love that statement
Mm-hmm.
because God is love, right? But He's also had some very specific things to say, and that's how I base and run my life, or at least try to, right?
Mhm.
Do my life by for good versus evil.
Mm-hmm.
And there's things that I think generally as a society we've said is also good versus evil, right? And so that's where I see especially a lot of what Chet is saying, like, yeah, there's things that we as a society are saying, like, this is evil, right? Taking someone's life. These are not good things. These are
Right.
evil things,
Right.
And if you think differently, then we're concerned
Yeah.
about you.
Well, and that's very on topic right now because we had a couple shows where we had, I'm not going to say who it was, where
Or the most objective evil is war, because that's just so much unnecessary death.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yes.
there's no justifying that in some type of it's part of the process. No, war is so unnecessary evil. So that's another thing you would put in that category of just like should not exist, and we could remove from society.
Well, that goes to thou shalt not kill, right?
Yeah.
Well,
if
and
there
that's
was
why
thou shalt not kill,
nobody
if they
tried to go-
followed the doctrine, they wouldn't.
and that's why
have
nobody
one.
tried to take this into a big political show, but I'm very excited about our new presidency
Oh dear.
because he doesn't want to go.
What do you mean
saying,
he's trying to take us to war?
Oh no!
He's
Okay,
literally
okay.
trying to take us
All
to
right.
war.
Okay, I'm just gonna say what I'm gonna say, and then we have to not say anything else.
No,
Yes,
we're not. We don't all
because
promote
we-
that shit. He's like literally trying to
we tried
divide.
this. It did not work
Yeah.
out well.
Okay,
for the
okay,
four
so
of us.
cut.
So let's maybe not
to the
go
next
through
thing.
that.
All right. So cheers. Let's talk about more love
This
and
is the first
spreading
time I will
love.
draw a lie.
and I toast you on that pearl, because this isn't about a political debate, left or right. Again, that goes back to right, wrong, left, right, up, down, right, and that's not what I'm talking about. And I would like to go back to more what Chet was talking about is if we look at spirituality, God as love, and if you look at the Ten Commandments, those are embodied in love. There's no
Right.
hate your neighbor. That's not
Yeah.
one of them,
No.
right?
Well, and I mean, these are very true statements that if we truly acted from a place of love where it says, love thy neighbor as yourself, right?
Mhm.
The rest of the Ten Commandments are basically an expansion of that core.
Yeah, specific
It's
rules.
like, love
yeah.
God, love people.
Right.
And here's how you can do it specifically.
Yeah.
In case you need some examples, I'm going to help you out.
Yeah.
Here's how it looks, right?
Right.
If we did that, we would have a very different world. But that starts with me first, right?
Mhm.
Like, I can't expect anyone else to be acting like this, and I'm going to act a hot mess.
That is so profound. The
It
Buddhists
is.
call it Kosenrufu, which means world peace, but there will never be peace in the world. World peace starts with us. We've talked about that before. It emanates from us, not to us, and that's the state of joy
Yeah.
that I was talking about.
Mhm.
That's always there with us. That peace is always here. We have to find it. It's always here, though.
Yeah, and for people that are like basically feeling like there's not enough love in the world and are stressed out about that or something, just have more in your interactions, you know, and you can change that. You can give more compliments, you can give more hugs, you can do more stuff that makes the people around you feel good, even if you're not touchy
So
type that
spend
wants
a
to
day
give
with
people
me.
hugs.
That's
I don't
right.
know if the people that
Absolutely.
spend a day with me,
King Guy, and
spend a
you
day with
will.
me,
That's right.
and go to about 10 places,
Mhm.
and you can see me spreading love
Exactly.
all around, and
Well,
you can see it
and if
coming
you
back
are
to me.
out there, and if you are depressed, one of my favorite sayings, and it's pithy, but it's true, is before you start taking antidepressants, make sure you're not surrounded by assholes. You've really
love
got
that.
to see and
That's a
look
great
at
one.
who's around you, who is filling your soul,
Who's pissing
and who
you off
is
all the time.
sucking your soul, and get rid of the people that are sucking your soul.
Yes.
I love that. If somebody's like always like angst,
Mm-hmm.
if somebody's always like just negative,
Mm-hmm.
and you can't turn it around, and you're trying,
Right.
maybe they shouldn't be in their life.
Well, and it
Or
just
as
depends
much.
on the energy that you want to give this person. But I know that Pearl has experience with this. We won't say any names, but I know you've had experience.
I only have love around me. I'm really, I have one person in my life that people are like, oh, they're all hard on her, but she's mostly, I chop her off when she's negative.
Mhm. Exactly.
I only hang out with her when she's positive. So
Yes, I have that experience. But I will say this morning when we were doing just learning, because I have group coaching three days a week, and this morning's lesson, part of the topic was, this is from Eddie Panera, we listened to a lot. He was talking about a friend of his was doing a breathing exercise, breathing activity, and she had said that you can care but don't carry, right? And I think because I'm thinking of someone who's saying, well, these people, I care about them, like, and I understand that because I have people I care about. They're going through stuff, right? These are heavy things,
Yes.
but I'm also then carrying it on me, and it's like, wait, I don't necessarily need to carry their load to care about them.
That's beautiful.
And
I love that. That's
and
amazing.
so I would
Yes.
say that to anyone that's going, you caring about someone doesn't disregard you. You don't need to carry their load. You can help dissipate whatever, but at the end of the day, you already have your own load that you're carrying, that you're trying to get off. So don't take someone else's. Take care about them. Be there for them. Do support. All the things. But don't take their load on you as well. You aren't built to carry it. You're not built to carry you, let alone carry someone else's.
I love that.
I think
That's so
it is
profound.
beautiful. It is very profound, and I
That's
think it's
that
the
can be a whole
difference
show.
between empathy and compassion, right? You can have compassion for people, but like you say, you don't take on their load. In fact, if you take on their load, I believe that you're doing them a disservice, because when I've been learning in coaching, is that if you try to fix someone's problem for them, you're going to make it. I don't know if you're going to make it better or worse, but you're going to muddy it. If you allow them to figure it out for themselves and give them support, it's the difference between they call it the drama triangle, where you have the victim, right, who's had all this stuff happen, and then you can become the rescuer and you try to help them, and then you've got the persecutor. That's the person or the institution that's trying to keep them down, right? That's the way that most people think about their situations in the world. Well, if you turn that upside down, we call it the empowerment dynamic, is that the victim now becomes the creator, and the persecutor now becomes the challenger. So really all the persecutor is doing is challenging the creator to be more, versus pushing the victim down. And then the rescuer becomes the coach. And coaches don't solve problems, as you know. Do your coaches solve any of your problems for you?
No.
not a one.
Is it a normal phenomenon that the less they try to put effort into it, the less you naturally care? I think that's kind of a natural phenomenon. Like, if you see that they're not trying to change this problem or this behavior, as time and time goes on, you just kind of care about it less. Like, I know somebody who has.
Do you agree with that?
Well, yeah, you can't.
Well, yeah, like I know somebody.
Somebody
Who has a really, really bad health issue right now, and they need to exercise and be eating as healthy as possible, and they're doing the exact opposite.
Right.
Eating junk food nonstop, being very unhealthy, and it's like it's hard to continue like worrying about them when they're literally shooting themselves in the foot slowly.
Right.
So it's like,
yes,
it's kind of
exactly
almost
right.
It's making me already have acceptance. Like when we get the call that they've passed away, I'm not going to be shocked. I'm like almost expecting it at this point, because they're not changing. They're just going through their same. It's sad when people.
Is this an older person?
No. But yeah, it's sad when people can't change and they put in no effort to change. You slowly stop to care.
Well, I don't know if you stop to care. For me, it just changes. Like I had a friend, very similar situation. He was not in good health, wasn't taking care of himself, had some type of diabetes. And I made him food for a week. And within that week, he didn't have to take his insulin because he was eating so healthy. And then when I just couldn't do that for him, and he went back to his old ways and was eating Ritz crackers and candy and all that kind of stuff. And he lasted a long time, but he died. He died recently, and I didn't feel bad that he died. He led a good life. He was a good friend to me. He was a good person to other people. He had a lot of love in his life, and I could have been a jerk and been on his butt about how he ate and all that kind of stuff, or I could just accept him for who he is and really enjoy his presence, and I chose the latter.
Well, you did a really good job by helping him, by cooking him for that week. Who knows, maybe that little week made him last way longer and reset his system.
Absolutely.
It's a bummer he wasn't able to learn from that and start doing that for himself.
But that wasn't on me.
Yeah.
Right?
And hold on, let's go back to people are not perfect.
Right.
And if each one of us are sitting here and we are thinking we're perfect,
but it's
we
all
are
about
wrong.
it's all about if they're trying. If they're not trying to get better, if they're putting in no effort to
perfect?
fix the issues.
No. God knows.
Is there anything about
Just
your
ask
life?
Sherry.
Exactly.
You don't have to be around people that are perfect. You have to be around people that are trying to be better.
Yeah, I think
That's right. Everybody's trying
that.
that.
No, some
But
people
that's
don't
the
try.
thing. That's the problem. There are a lot of people who actually aren't.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who just stay their same way, stressing
Yes.
people out.
They are. They
Taking
are.
their problems out on others.
They legitimately are not trying.
Yeah.
They are doing the exact some of
opposite
them
of
are
trying.
doing the exact opposite.
Some of them are getting
of
worse.
trying.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. And then you have to eliminate them from your life.
And that's
all
what
it
we
goes.
talk about, because at some point it's like, wow, I can't keep hearing you. Like, you keep complaining about this. Yeah. If you changed this, and this is a small, silly example, but I'm still going to give it anyway to get the point across. So,
I like it. Just do it.
my mom, love my mom. We now have very, very similar hairstyles, but there was at one point she wanted her hair to grow. And so she's like, Pearl, what should I do? I was like, okay, put your hair in braids. She's like, okay. And then she would complain. Then she'll come back to me. She's like, Pearl, what should I do? I was like, put your hair in braids. 3 years, like several years, we had this same conversation. Finally, I was like, Mom, I have given you the answer. Now you can choose to do it or not. But
why
my
is your hair
answer is not going to change.
Right.
And then she finally did it, and guess what? Her hair grew. Sometimes, and I've done that. People will say stuff to me, and like for me, my health journey was starting with a mindset of saying I am a healthy person. So, as a healthy person, would I do X, Y, and Z? And when that mindset shifted, that's what changed my actions. Before then, I'd be like, oh, I feel tired. I want more energy. I want these things. People are like, well, do this, do that. I'm like,
And you didn't listen.
and I didn't listen, right? So that's what I'm hearing for Chet is like, there are people, they know what to do. They've heard it, but they are still choosing whatever it is not to do it. And after a while, it's not that you don't care. It's just like, dude, my answer is not going to change. So I'm no longer going to entertain this conversation with you.
Because
and if that was something like just about her hair, that's like basically just the question is what was annoying you. But if there's somebody who's like, habitually stressing you out and causing problems, and they're not changing that behavior, that's something you have to get away from. Like,
I have a little hack for that, a little cheat code.
Yes.
So if you're in a relationship with somebody and you've told them the same thing over and over again, the next time you're with them and they ask you what you are going to say, ask them a question. Ask them, what do you think my advice will be? And if they tell you what you wanted to hear, that'll probably be the last time they ask you. And if they ask you again, just say that exact same thing. And eventually they'll stop asking you that question. It'll change your relationship.
So is that what you say to your clients?
Absolutely.
And how do people get a hold of you again?
Yes is more fun is the easiest way. Just all one word.
Life coach.
Life coach. That's
Life
right.
coach. And because we only have a lot of time left, but how do people get a hold of you, Pearl?
LadyJewel.net for all of your event needs.
Yes.
Nice.
And then we've got Deep Chetty Music over here. And so I think this conversation is great for 2025 because we all are trying to improve on ourselves, on our loved ones, on our relationships. And I think that there is no perfection. There is no secret way, and there's no way that you can think you're right, because there's always two sides of the story.
There's more than just two.
Thank you. And that's why you're the perfection on this show. You really are, because
I'm not perfect.
No, because
I'm excellent on this.
you know,
show.
like
But you can potentially not be totally right about a situation and still be able to categorize what that experience was like, and if you want to have that experience again. Like, you could have some argument with a friend or something, and like, it's debatable whether you were right or wrong about some parts, but if they handled it a certain way or disrespected you at a certain level, those little minute details, if you're wrong in a certain way, don't matter that much. It's all about kind of how the person handled the situation, and if they, like we were saying, if they're trying, did they really show effort to apologize and make it up to you?
So Jet, you are single right now.
What does that have to do with this conversation at all?
I'm very curious.
I'm single right
What
now.
does that have to do with this conversation?
Pearl's
at
single.
all?
Just let's hear me out.
What does this have to do with this conversation?
I'm gonna get
at
to
all?
it. All of us.
Objection overruled. Continue.
Basically,
I want to hear how it relates to what we're talking about. 'Cause it's not
Okay.
even.
I'd like to hear more.
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Curious.
Okay,
I've been
all of
watching
us
court
single,
dramas.
single. And so all of us have had relationships. I was married for
Right.
32 years. Happily married for maybe 26 or 27. I'm not sure.
One of my favorite mentors said, Martin, I was married for 40 years. Best 15 years of my life.
No, that's why, like, it's a record. Because when I tell people that I was happily married for over 25 years, we were holding hands and massaging feet and
All right, so
hanging out together.
Okay.
everybody has had past relationships.
Yeah.
Wait,
Have
no,
you-
I feel like that was not the point. I hope that
Yeah,
was not
that
the
wasn't
point.
the point.
That was not the point.
Okay, let's get to the
Why?
point. The point is, we all have something to learn. And I always want to learn. And I know Chet's laughing. He's probably ridiculing me.
Wasn't
here.
you like buzzed and didn't want to talk about what I was talking about?
No.
This is not related to what I was saying.
What
in
I'm
the
saying is, you
slightest.
think you're perfect.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't. Everybody
Okay.
has.
Oh, hold on. You think you're perfect.
No.
You're in a lot of relationships.
That's not true at all.
Okay,
Everybody
okay,
just.
okay.
Everybody
All right,
has something to work on.
So
It's
can I
all
tell-
about if you're
okay.
trying.
I don't think you think to work
That's-
on anything, but
See,
I
that's-
do.
See, that's ridiculous
tell you
because
my
my
name.
whole entire
You just want to get them spun up, don't you?
my whole motto is to try to get better every day. Don't you understand? If you're perfect, you don't have to get better. So what you're saying goes against my whole motto. My whole motto is to try to get better every day, which implies that I'm not perfect.
But in relationships,
crazy.
I think you are.
Not at all. I run late. I'm not that organized. I
Okay.
can be kind of
All right,
messy.
But you
back
work
up.
on your
Let's back
lateness?
up. Let's back
Okay,
up.
okay,
Let's back up.
okay,
Way
yeah,
back.
yeah.
All right, so
Let's
This is
set it
good.
up.
So what? So
So-
what was your whole point? To just attack me and say that I thought I'm perfect?
No,
actually, her
That's what
whole
you
point
said,
was to
basically.
get you juiced.
no. My whole point was I need to work on myself, and I hope that you want to work on yourself.
I feel
He
like
wants to work on
opens with
himself.
that.
And
Yeah, I
even though
think you
you're
do too.
and even though you're in a great relationship, do you ever want to work on yourself?
All right, so my mentors
That's
have
what
told
my point
me
is.
all the time, if I want to be the person that I would like to be,
Yeah.
the intentions that I have, is I have to work on myself first, and I have to work on myself the most. And part of that is understanding what I want. And the reason that I'm in a relationship that I'm in, and it's an amazing relationship, is because I wrote down every single thing that I wanted. Not, I want this in a woman, I want that in a woman. No, I am with a woman who's more intelligent than I am, who is, and I wrote a page and a half of
Give
things.
us more details. I want more details.
I wanted
Oh, we
brown
talked
hair,
about this
brown
before.
eyes. I wanted a certain height. I wanted a athletic body, somebody who would push me to be more athletic. I
Personality traits.
personality traits of someone who was open, who wasn't critical, right? But I
Like
didn't
to
write
party.
that down. Right, I didn't write that down. I wrote it someone who was open. I wrote it from a very positive standpoint, and so I spent a lot of time with that. And I know Pearl has done a lot of that type of journaling of
She is.
what visualizing what we want. I've done vision boards. I've done all of those things. Those are the type of things that will set those intentions, and then the rest of it is just accepting that there's a larger energy than ourselves and following what is in front of us. We call it doing the work that's in front of us. So you don't have a relationship yet, you don't have a relationship yet, you don't have a relationship yet. Doesn't matter. Do the work that's in front of you.
Well,
right
we're
now,
single now, but I was in a relationship for 32 years.
Right.
Then I was broken up, and then I was in a relationship until about January.
Wait, actually, this is a good
And
way to
so
circle
I-
it back to what I'm talking about.
Okay.
If you surround yourself with somebody who's stressing you out and bringing you down, that energy is going to show, and it's going to repel people who would be potential significant
Absolutely.
others. So if you're surrounding yourself with people that stress you out and that bring you down, that might literally be taking you off of the market.
Are you talking about your ex-girlfriends?
No.
Well, I
No,
think
I'm
that all
talking
of our
about-
No,
exes,
I think in general.
Yeah, it's just a
Yeah.
general thing. Like, my message is kind of like, if there's somebody in your life that's pulling you down, get distance from them, and then you'll be able to focus on yourself that much more. You can't focus on
Do
yourself.
you have that person in your life?
No, I've removed any of them, but
Yeah, I mean, I will say my last roommate was a lot like that, and so
draining, and then you
Very-
can't focus on anything because you're
It
like,
was.
this dumb idiot is doing all this
Yeah.
And I
shit,
realized
causing me all this
how much
stress.
anger and frustration I was having.
Oh, okay.
And this was supposed to be my home, my safe space, and it was no longer that. And so then I didn't have a place to rest and
And she was
restore.
renting from you.
Right. And yet I felt like I had to hide in my room or in my car in my own home.
You're lucky
because
that that was
of-
a roommate and not somebody that you're related to, because some people are related to this person that stresses them out, and then they
Right.
feel obligated to spend a bunch of time with them,
Yeah.
and then they're just always being dragged down.
Yeah, and I've had those. I've had that too. And so you just you learn to cope instead of really living.
And you should set limits. If it is somebody that is a relative, so you're gonna see them, continue seeing them, just limit it to once a week or once a month or whatever that's gonna be, so that they're, if they stress you out, it's just on that one day a week, not all of a sudden you're stressed out 5 days a week.
Right.
So, because then it'll start affecting the people you're close
Are you
to.
projecting this onto somebody that has that person in their life? Or you have
No.
it yourself?
No.
No, I think
I've
it's
already
a
answered that. I don't spend time around people that drag me down in any way.
Because I do have.
I don't waste that time.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this in a nice way, but I have somebody in my life that, like, 50% of the time is so fun and uplifting,
Mhm.
and I love to be around them. And we have such a great
And the other time they're a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not. It's not.
Yeah,
like
anybody that's a 50-50
So-
ratio, you should limit to seeing once a week.
All right. And
That's simple.
everyone that
that's the
we've all been
boundaries.
with in the past has been there for us. They haven't done anything to us.
And seeing
They
somebody
were there for us to teach us, because I can guarantee you every single beautiful lady that I dated prior to Sherry has made me a
love Sherry.
much better
Love Sherry. I love
much
Sherry.
better husband to my wife. Every single one of them contributed
I love you,
to
Sherry.
that. And so we have to go through that. Just like you were saying earlier, how do you know happiness if you don't know sadness?
Mhm.
How do you know a good relationship if you don't know an effed up relationship?
That's,
That's
what
a
I
good
say.
question.
You don't.
yeah,
You
It's
don't.
true.
It's very true.
It's kind of like
You-
if you only have vanilla
hopefully-
ice cream and you never have chocolate or strawberry or raspberry, and it's all vanilla. You're like, oh, vanilla is the best. But then you have chocolate, and you're like,
That's
wow.
boring.
It
Yeah.
is, but you also get to have an appreciation, right, for when that person, we're talking relationships, right, specific person comes, it's like, oh wow, this is good. I know this is good because I know what bad also looks
Right.
like, right,
But
or what unhealthy looks like.
I am the one who
Yes.
can change.
But that's what I'm saying. But for me, it's like I've got to change.
Yes.
It starts with me. I'm grateful to all of you that you've gotten to see that change over the years. But
Yes.
right, like it started with me becoming who it is that I wanted to spend time with. If I don't change, let's be honest, I'm not going to attract said person. Or coming for a business, my business
Yes.
started to grow and improve when I changed one mindset. I went from being an entrepreneur to being a business owner. That mindset shift changed because entrepreneurs, we try things, we're mavericks, we're all these things, but we don't necessarily finish
Make money,
things.
right?
And then business owners,
Mhm.
they're in there for the long haul. They're making that money. They're making it work. They're going to do what it takes to be successful. That's what it made
Love
for
it.
me to become a successful business owner, right? A mindset shift. I had to change something in me to get the result that I wanted.
And it was one thought. That's the good
And this
news
is
here.
2025.
and also,
and that's
'cause
what
you're-
it's all about. It's,
Well,
it's that mindset.
I wanna
It's
hear-
shifting it. It's the positive.
Oh, I was gonna say. Well, it sounded earlier like
Yeah.
you're asking me to think of a specific example of what I was talking about from
Yeah.
my life, and I remembered one. I had a friend that I've cut off like in the past like 2 years.
I
Yeah,
remember.
because no, you don't know who I'm talking about.
I
Right now.
do.
You think you do, but you don't.
Okay.
Don't say it.
Okay, I want. This
Yeah,
is what-
definitely don't.
this is-
Yeah.
No,
I'll
no.
start the show over
Yeah,
again.
yeah. But there's somebody I loved hanging out with this dude. We were such great friends. Our banter and like we'd play really fun games with our group of friends. But a few of the times when we'd go out to like shows or to bars, once he would get kind of drunk, he would get like into this like aggressive, like almost like fighter energy.
Like
where like multiple
belligerent?
times I had to like get us out of the bar so he didn't like, because it would be like a guy like asking him like, "Oh, are you in line for the beer?" And he'd be like, "What the fuck?" Like he was turning
Oh,
one of
no,
those
he's
sometimes when he was drunk.
Martial
And
arts
so
guy.
like after like 3 times I was like, okay, I should just stop hanging out with this person because
I know who it is. He fight.
but what if one of those other times I would have met like that woman that was the love of my life, but instead I was, basically taking his aggressive drunk ass home.
Mhm.
So it's like important that when you realize you're with somebody that is or hanging out with somebody that has
Bad
that
influence.
like angst or stress. Yeah,
Bad influence.
it can come out in a lot of different ways. It can come out in like chaos or
Right.
like lies.
And
There's
if they want help, help them. If
Yeah.
they don't.
No, this guy was a bad influence.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Well,
and he actually, yeah, but
Smart,
we had a
successful,
good
made a lot of
time.
money,
We had a
but
great time.
He liked to fight.
We had a great time being friends, and like I still value our friendships, but I just kind of
Yeah.
ended up seeing that I don't want to hang out with somebody where I have to worry about that potentially being a thing, where we might get into a brawl at the end of the night.
He likes to fight with people.
At the end of the
He's an MMA
night,
guy.
I'm a lover, not a fighter. I don't want to get in some stupid drunk bar fight. And
Well,
you
and-
never know if the guy you're fighting is way more trained than you.
But how?
So-
But that's not what it is. Is he could instigate a fight where somebody else has a gun that would kill you.
Obviously. So, but
yeah.
my point is that I was relating it back to that you need to weed those people out for a lot of reasons, for your personal success, your personal joy, your personal happiness, and because it could be getting in the way of meeting a significant other, a relationship. So there's a lot of different. It shouldn't just be about the potential relationship, but it's important to remove
Every healthy
anybody
way.
from your life that is pulling you down. Or you don't have to remove them from your life entirely. Maybe you just need to limit to seeing them once a week or once every 2 weeks. But
Right, or like,
definitely
we're not
it's-
going to hang out in this
yeah.
situation
But
anymore,
we have
right?
2 more minutes left, so let's focus on what the new year, like focusing on how we can bring positivity and love and growth and gratitude into our life. That's my advice. What about you?
Well, I've got this song called "Protect Your Joy."
Yeah. Oh, let's sing it.
I don't think we have time.
Yes, we do. We have
No,
3 more minutes,
that's-
please.
no, don't
No.
rush him. No.
Well,
So-
no, and
So what
I
I would
want
rather
it.
I would rather people do is go and look
No, it's
on
it's-
Spotify.
Yeah, go listen to it on
Apple
Spotify,
Music, or
yeah.
any
Yeah.
of those things, and
Wait,
listen to
please, can you
Protect
just
Your
play
Joy.
30
Just
seconds?
stop
Okay.
it and listen to me.
Okay.
Listen to Protect Your Joy. Listen
Okay.
to Yes Is More Fun. The reason that I put out music is to teach, and the reason that Pearl does what she does, she just doesn't put on events. That's what you do, but that's not who you are, right? And so, and that's your business, but that's not what you do. You add value to people's lives.
But she's a people pleaser. She wants to make people happy.
Well,
I meant in a
it's
good way. I
beyond
meant it in a
that.
good way.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
way beyond people
Yes,
pleasing because I
100%.
actually see that kind of as a negative thing.
I meant it in a good way,
is-
though.
I understand what
I
you're
think
saying.
that's only as a
but
good way.
I would like
What?
to take it to even the next level. Is that
No, I disagree.
by okay, I'll take it to the lower level. Then.
No. I mean, it's saying a good thing.
No, I think that if you're
listen.
trying to make people a pleaser, that's a good
She wants to
thing.
make people happy. I'll word it
Yeah.
better. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
She is bringing joy to herself.